life changing, and it's worth the experience.
Wow. Wow. So I have to ask a question. I'm going to, direct it to you, Liza, the first question. So, what is the AUSA and how does it benefit the Houston Metroplex community?
Absolutely. So the Association of U.S. Army is the preferred organization for the Army. What we do is we support the soldier, their families, veterans, retirees, um, Army civilians, industries who partner with the Army. And what we do, we provide a dual mission. We provide from resources, the voice of the Army, the support for the soldier.
Yeah.
We advocate with for the Army with Capitol Hill on both sides. And, we bring aware the issues that the Army is having from the soldiers at their level all the
Mm-hmm.
way to
Mm-hmm.
from budgets or anything that has to do with the Army. We are behind the Army, so we support regular Army, the National Guard, the Army Reserve, as well as civilian workforce as well, who
Wow.
supports the Army. And so, how does it benefit? What we do if you become a member of AUSA, we were established in 1950. We were chartered by Congress. But then a few years later, we had to step away from that and we
Mm-hmm.
became a nonprofit organization.
Wow.
So we help educate, inform, and connect with our members. So on the education part, we provide professional leadership lessons. We provide events to where they can come in and network. We put them in contact, as our members. You don't have to be a soldier or a veteran or a retiree to be a part of AUSA. We welcome civilians.
Wow. So how does someone support what you're doing? How do you go and be a part of it if you want to be a part of it or support it?
Absolutely. So, for those of you who say you support the Army, there's only one way you can do that. One is either join the Army, or two, you have to be a part of an organization. How in that organization is us? We
Yes.
support the Army. So,
Okay.
how can they do it? By becoming a member. We
Okay.
welcome individuals, we welcome community partners, businesses, individuals who just believe in supporting the Army from
Okay.
a total aspect.
Okay. So, and that support would look like, what would that support look like? Would it be monetary? Would it be volunteering? How does that look? For someone
Absolutely.
like me, I
Sure.
said, hey, I want to be a part of this. How can I help?
Absolutely. So there are individual memberships. We have 3 basic memberships.
Okay.
And so by you doing that, that increases the number of members.
Okay.
Anytime an organization has a large amount of members, they hear you more. We're over 1.5 million members across the nation today.
Wow. Say that number again. I love big
1.5
numbers.
million members.
All right.
And growing stronger.
So guess what? She will be heard. They will be heard. I like that number, and it's so good to know that there are people who want to support because I think people. Sometimes we get in our own little world and we don't want to help anyone else. But I think that this is something that's really beneficial because it's helping us because you all are us. Only you took the step further and you gave the service. So, and let me stop and say thank you so much for your service because I'm just going to tell you, no, this girl, no, couldn't do it. I'm too undisciplined. The first time that someone would tell me that I could not go and get my hair done anytime I want, it would be a problem. So I want to thank you for being so disciplined because I'm not a disciplined person. That is my truth. We all know, if you know me personally, you know I'm not. I'm just like off the cuff. But I want to, say that what you're doing is great, and I'm very, very interested in want some of your pamphlets that you have so that we can, for those who are interested. Hey, let me give you that number. That number to call if you have any questions, 713-570-9040. Once again, that number is 713-570-9040. So here's my question for Lieutenant Colonel Raissa.
Yes,
I have to ask it. Ask this for the both of you. So one of my questions is, so what made you join the Army?
honestly, what made me join the army was just a little bit of rebellion.
See, I love her already.
So you talk about being undisciplined. I was a pretty good student in high
Uh-huh.
school, but I went to Catholic school, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
so I was under the thumb for a good part of my life.
Yes.
And I wanted the adventure of
Yeah.
the army. But when I was 17, because when you're 17, your parents still have to sign the
Yeah.
paperwork.
Yeah.
My parents were like, "Oh no, you're going to college." We were immigrants from the Philippines, so education was very valued.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Um, so I went off to college, like my mom and dad said.
Yeah.
But as luck would have it, I run into a recruiter while I'm at college at a career fair, and he educates me about the Army Reserve opportunity.
Yeah.
Where he's like, no, you can still go to college and join the Army. So the Army Reserve allows you to just drill during the weekend, 1 weekend a month,
Okay.
and then it's 2 years, or I'm sorry, excuse me, 2 weeks into the summer.
Okay.
So he's like, it won't interfere with your school. We'll also work with you with scheduling your basic training and advanced individual training so that it won't interfere with the the fall or the spring semester. And I got really lucky that I did that because I remember when I said that I was a little bit of a punk. So yeah,
Told
so
me that.
in my freshman year, I had to maintain a certain GPA to keep my state scholarship and my university scholarship,
Yeah.
and I didn't do that.
Oh wow.
So I lost both of my academic scholarships. But because I had already joined the Army at that point, back then it was the Montgomery GI Bill, they paid for my education, for my bachelor's degree. And then while I was going to college, I took the ROTC elective. And so by the end of it, I continued doing my drills.
Yes.
By the end of it all, I commissioned as a second lieutenant and came on active duty. So there's a way to do both. And it has just been an absolute blessing. Just, just the education benefits
Yeah,
alone.
yeah.
The Army has sent me through 2 master's degree programs already, as well as an associate's degree for a foreign language. So I can't complain.
Oh
man.
my goodness. What's a foreign language?
Portuguese.
Portuguese. Okay. Okay. I love it. I love it. I like how this story, out of the rebellion, this is the result of it. Discipline, someone who has climbed the ranks. And when I was, like I said, when I was reading your bio, I was like, oh my goodness. I just expected someone like really tall to see them. And you were, I was like, oh, okay. Okay, all right, good. So it's your turn. I need to hear Sergeant Price. She was so nervous. She was so nervous, guys. So look at her. I mean, can you tell that she is just a soldier? So she's going to tell you why she joined the Army.
So I joined the Army because, like Lieutenant Colonel Raissa said, so in high school, my family valued education as well.
Yeah.
I started out on the route of going as a junior. My mom was okay with it. And then I was a bit of a punk. And
okay, so there's hope. There's hope, guys. There's hope.
So I like ghosted my recruiter the first time, and I was just like, I'm going to college. And I went to one of the top universities in South Carolina. I went to Clemson University. In my freshman year, again, I had scholarships as well, but it was more so like being out in college on your own. I was like, oh well, it's time to party.
That's
So
right.
that's kind of what I was used to. Like I started partying, I started letting my grades slip.
Okay.
So once I realized like, okay, how are you going to pay for college if you lose your scholarship? I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to put myself in debt like that. I'm like, we're just going to not go back to school. But, of course, I heard the backlash from my family. So it was like,
Yeah.
I got to do something. So then it just so happened, I was like, all right, I'm going to go talk to a recruiter. And I went 2 days in a row. And 2 days in a row. Because I went to go get information.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay. The information.
I went to go talk to the Marines. I was like, nah, not for me, right? It was I felt like it was just too much. Their presence was a lot. So I was like, no. Then I was like, I went to the Navy office. I was like, I was like, no one's here. Hello? Like, I knocked on the door, no one was there. And then an Army recruiter came out the door. He said, you came up here 2 days in a row. He said, come talk to me. And I said, I wasn't thinking Army. He was like, come talk to me. Just hear what we have to offer. And he started telling me a little bit of everything. He said, the first thing he asked was, what did you score on the ASVAB? Because he said, I could just tell, like, you took the ASVAB in high school? I go, yes. And he said, what did you score? I said, I think I scored a 60 or 70 something.
Mm-hmm.
He said, okay, so you're smart. He was like, so come talk to me. And I said, okay. And he said, look at the benefits we have. He said, we have medical benefits, free medical, free dental. He was like, we have, and we'll pay for you to go to school.
Okay.
And that was the one thing I took back to my family. The Army will pay for me to go to school.
Oh, you were smart. You really were smart.
I took that information. I took it back to my family. We talked it over, and my mom said, your uncle is in the Army. Call your uncle. I called my uncle. He goes, guess what I'm doing? I go, what? He said, I'm a recruiter. I said, this is, it was like, it was deja vu. I was like, I seen my whole career. Once he said that, I seen myself in him. So I was just like, all right. And I joined, and I've been in it'll be 11 years in July. But I wanted to go back to school and have, I wanted the Army to pay for school, and also I wanted to create that financial stability for myself.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a small town. I've never gotten in trouble, but, like, people around me, but they always say, like, you can find the good ones in the group, right?
Yeah.
So I was one of the good ones that kind of, always separated myself from the trouble. Yeah. So there was a way out for me. Because everyone else around me, they started joining the military, but they didn't stay very long.
Yeah.
And when you went back to talking about being undisciplined, I was very undisciplined. I was very undisciplined. It was to a point where I think my mom, my grandmother all said, she's going to be the first one to get pregnant out of her friends. And I was like, is that really what you think about me? And then, and then I got in the Army, and I realized I did a self-evaluation while I was in basic training. Like, I'm like, this is probably the best thing I did for myself.
Yeah.
And I created financial stability, and I created job security. That's what the Army offered for me. And now I'm 30, and I'm raising a 1-year-old, and I feel like I'm financially stable because of the Army. He doesn't, I don't pay like a copay or anything. His dental, healthcare, all of it is covered 100%. Anytime he gets sick, I can take him, and I don't have to pay for anything. So that's probably one of the biggest blessings that the Army has done for me, as well as travel. So that's one of the biggest.
So speaking of travel, where have you gone? Where have you traveled?
Okay, so my first duty station was Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Okay.
Which was close to home, South Carolina. But then I came down on orders for Korea.
Oh,
Korea
wow.
was one of the best experiences I've
Really?
ever had. Yes. The food, the culture, just learning everything. It was amazing. What else? Oh, from there I went to Thailand. I went to Taiwan. I've been to Australia. I got a lot of stamps in my passport.
Well,
So,
it sounds like it. So how long were you in Taiwan?
all of this travel has probably only been like a week, because I'll take like a week of leave just to
But
go.
still, I mean,
to
even with
experience.
vacations, you only want to stay a week. You want, after a week,
But you get 30 days in the Army. You get 30 days of paid vacation time. So you can either take it all at one time, or you can split it up. So me, I like to split it up.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I'll take a week here. I'll take a week this month. I'll take a week this month. So, yeah.
Oh, and where have you traveled?
Yeah, I got a lot of.
Yours were maybe more. You were talking of that you were military police, that you're a police, and I was like, oh my God, there's like police officers, everything. So you can't miss if you go into the service.
No, so
Yeah.
we actually have over 150 different military occupational specialties. We have everything from like IT stuff, human resources, medical, logistics, and of course, in the movies you see all the different combat arms.
Yeah.
And the unique thing about the Army is that we are the only service that when you sign your contract, you know exactly what job you're getting into. Whereas the other services, they use the basic training time to kind of assess you to figure out what job. So your job is going to be based on your selection and what you qualify for,
Ah.
based on your ASVAB score, so how you test, and then some of the physical stuff. So 150 jobs, and then you can take some of those jobs. A lot of the jobs will have like a credentialing assistance route that you can take, where it can, for me, for example, I'm military police, right? So military police soldier can look and get maybe a civilian equivalent for a physical security position,
Okay.
credentials for that. So
Okay.
each job has their own translation into the civilian field should they choose to get out. So I just want to run some numbers.
No,
real quick,
run the
because,
numbers,
because
please.
Sergeant First Class Price had just mentioned, getting 30 days of paid leave. Like, what entry level job do you get 30 days of paid leave?
Wait.
per year?
Entry level?
Entry level.
No experience. You don't have to have any experience to join the Army. So it's not, the Army will teach you whatever job you decide that you want to do. Like she said, taking the ASVAB and you qualify for these jobs, you don't have to know how to do any of that. The Army will pay you to learn that job.
That's right. So 17, 18-year-old, newly graduated from high school can come in, absolutely no skills. I just need a high school degree or a GED, and I need them to have a passing test score on the ASVAB, and based on that test score, they do their job selection, and so they go off to basic training. That's 2 months, and then after basic training, they'll go to their what we call advanced individual training, and that's where they learn how to do their job. And so that's what we consider entry level. So like if let's say you come in straight off the streets, you have no college, no nothing. They no junior ROTC, they will come in at what we call as an E1. That's the pay rate. That is going to be a private third class. So this is I have a chart in front of me, and
Okay.
it compares a civilian making $20 per hour
Okay.
to an E2. So you make, even if you come in as a private first class or private third class, E1, you will make E2 private second class within about 6 months if you keep out of trouble.
Yeah.
And so with all the housing allowance, the base pay that we get, the food allowance, tax advantage, all the different benefits, so that is a compensation of about $80,000 per year compared to a civilian job where you're making $20 an hour with like whatever minimal benefits. That's like $56,000 per year.
You're right.
So yes, ma'am. So I mean, we'll get you some of these flyers, but
Please
that
do.
is one of the benefits of coming into the Army. Like Sergeant First Class Price was talking about, the financial stability of it, the 30 days of paid leave. And additionally, we get most of our federal holidays, and we have training holidays off. It's all mission dependent.
Yeah.
And then the Army also gives up to 12 weeks of parental leave. So when she had her baby,
Oh.
it cost her $0 for childbirth at the hospital. Yeah.
$0.
And then she was authorized up
How
to
much
12
it costs
weeks.
to have a baby?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. 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 I'm getting all of this information. I'm taking it in because, like we were talking earlier, we're losing so many of our young people because they feel like, oh, hey, no one understands what I'm going through. I'm just out here, and the service. Some people say, oh, no, you don't want to do that. But I think it's the best thing because you can go in, like you said, entry level. You can choose what you want to learn, and they will train you to do it. Train you and pay you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you get all of these benefits. I mean, out here in the civilian land, civilian world, we can't do that. You go, they're going to look you over, and they're going to tell, well, first of all, they're not going to look you over. They're going to do an interview online and know nothing about you. But with this, you have someone talking to you face to face. And I heard you say earlier how you were talking with a young person, and there were some things going on. Can you talk about that? Can you
Sure.
expound on that if that's
Yes, ma'am. So generally, if the applicant has no law violations, they're healthy, they pass the ASVAB, they got their at least a resident, a U.S. resident, we can get them in pretty quickly. But you know, people mess up. Life happens.
life happens, life be life, and
That's right. And especially in today's society, now I got CPS. When I was growing
Yes.
up, my mom was allowed to beat my butt when I got
Yeah.
in trouble.
yeah, you
that-
can't do that now.
Can't do that anymore. And so, what's a parent to do? We have a lot of parents that call the police on their children when they're acting up. And so now that's a charge in their record, terroristic threat. Possession of marijuana use.
Yeah.
Many of those charges are waiverable. They have to demonstrate good conduct since then,
Okay,
and
okay.
a good moral character. We interview them. We do like do an assessment, because at the same time we have to protect the Army as well.
Yes,
We can't
yes,
be letting in
yes.
folks who we know are going to be bad apples or
Yes,
cause us a problem.
yes.
So just because you have a past about you does not mean it's the end of the world. At least come and talk to us. We'll let you know if it's something that we can waiver. I mean, I'll tell you, at my level, because I have to sign so many waivers, I do some of the interviews myself,
Yes.
and I'll do them face to face. I told you I was a cop, so I read faces. And some of these people, when I'm reading the record, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know how the heck this person is going to get into the Army. And then I talk to them, and I'm like, you know what, you have changed. You have turned over a new leaf. Let me go ahead and recommend you to, because it's my commanding general
Yes.
who has to approve it. And I've actually gotten calls back from him like, Race, really? And I told him, like, listen, sir, I interviewed him.
Yeah.
This is what he's done since he did this, and you have a choice here. You can approve this waiver and let the young man have a new start in the Army, give him purpose, or you can disapprove the waiver, and he goes back to the same old circle and potentially not make
Yeah.
anything out of himself. But you give him a chance, you can make him into a positive contributor to society. He signed the waiver.
How could you not sign the waiver after that?
Young man is now in the Army.
Oh God, oh God. So let me ask you this. I have some questions. I looked over there, and there were my questions sitting there, so I have to go back to my email here. So, what was one of your favorite memories? And this is to the two of you, and also to you, Liza, your a good memory that you have, with being a part of all of this. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to start here with you, Sergeant Price.
I think my favorite memory has been meeting new people. At first, I was never really a friendly person, but the Army allows you the opportunity to come across many people, and you build a family. And it's like, once you have that family, it's like they say you meet your lifelong best friends in the military, and that is very true. Like, I really can go to any state, and and I'll have, hey, I'm on the road, may I stop at your house? So that's probably my favorite memory, along with I have a lot, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We've got an hour. Well, what?
I think also, like, being able to, like, lead soldiers. That's been one of the greatest memories, because you get these, being a non-commissioned officer, right? You're put in a position to lead. And it's like you have these new soldiers coming in that don't know anything. Like you said, it's entry level, right? So you come in and you start. Hey, do you know how to do this? Some people come in, they don't have those skills, like as far as like people skills. They don't have any of that. All those tangible skills that you're supposed to have in high school. a lot of them don't come with that. So it's like, hey, okay, you're taking them, now you're showing them, you're leading them, and you're changing their lives. So being at the forefront now as a recruiter, you're like, okay, hey, you can start honing in on some of that stuff in the beginning. And then that way, once they get to those NCOs, when they graduate basic training or they graduate their job training, that and they get to their new NCO, it's like, hey, okay, thank you to my recruiter because I may not have known that. So it's just like that's probably one of my favorite memories.
Wow. If I wasn't 63, I'd go join the army. Oh my God.
We'll have to share with her about the new commission. What if it's 62 age?
Really?
Doctor.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Oh well, I'm 63 now, so I'm Miss Clark here. You know, but I mean, what you're talking about, and it's so important because a lot of times I'm like, how are our children going to learn anything because they're always like this? I mean, no one talks anymore. Everything is, electronic. And what you're saying, it just made my heart leap because, I'm from a different generation. I'm a boomer. So everything was, oh, let me meet you and let me talk to you. And that's how we get to be lifelong. And, I hear you say that. And it's like a bond, a camaraderie. And I just love that because it's like, yes, they need that. They need to come into something that they can feel a part of. I think that's why they get in gangs because they want to feel a part of something. A lot of young people, do that. So this is a good gang, guys. This is a good gang that you can be a part of. So how can you tell me about a good memory, something that's really memorable?
Before I do that, I just want to tack on to what she said,
Okay.
with just having family around. I like to say I got moms in every area code.
Okay. I like that.
I can agree.
I like that.
We really strive to be a family oriented, and some units are better than others, but in many of my previous units, the wives come. And so I like to call them like my army moms. Some of them younger than me, but they're like they're the ones that like bring in food to the office, and then they're out
Can I
of
be
the
an army
house.
mom?
Army moms. But one of my favorite memories was so we were deployed to Romania. It was just an exercise, in Europe we had a summer exercise every summer.
Yeah.
It's a big exercise. And our mission in this exercise was to lay down 3 floating bridges and get the the combat troops across to the other side.
Floating means that it wasn't stable, it was moving.
Floating. So
Okay,
so
I can't
actually,
swim,
yeah,
so
the
that's-
army actually has these this equipment that is like on the back of a semi truck. And
Yeah.
then you put it into the river and you can guide it into place, and then they lock into each other so that they're anchored at both sides, and then you can drive across it. And then we had the different European partners there too. So the Germans have one where it's like an amphibious vehicle. They drive down the dock and then it turns into a boat, motors into place. Same concept. And the Romanians had one too. So we were working with lots of multinational partners. But once we got, the sun was just crusting over the horizon, and we got 3 bridges in place. But being able to work with the multinational partners, it just opened your eyes to the different world views. And then, as she was talking about, it brought my unit closer together because. It wasn't the best conditions. Like, we were in the field, no showers or anything like that. But it created this camaraderie with the challenge.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I still talk to these people now. And they're calling me up, like, hey, what do you think about this? I call them up, what do you think about this? So it's really opened my eyes to the world. And it was just a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous sunrise, too.
Wow.
So that is one of my most favorite.
I'm very visual, so I'm drawing a picture of all of this. So wow, that is memorable. I love how you said the sun awesome. I love all of that, like, okay. So come on
Absolutely.
down there and tell me, this is my friend. I'm going to truly call her a friend because when we
Thank
met,
you.
she was just I was talking and she was so into what I was saying, and I was like, oh my gosh, I like her. And she wears hats well. I love it. She wears hats very well. She had on a hat that day that I loved. But I thank you so much for talking with me and telling me what you were doing, and I was interested immediately because I was like, huh? Wait a minute. I never. You think about the Army and you think, oh, okay, the Army, the Navy, but to sit down and when you talked about it, you had such a passion, and
Yes,
your
ma'am.
passion is what piqued my interest. I said, I must know more about this woman.
Absolutely. So, I have a couple of favorite memories that I can share with you and how I started. So, first off, I'm a civilian.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
never in the military.
Wow.
Although, after I got laid off from corporate America
Uh-huh.
after almost serving 18 years for one
Wow.
company,
Wow.
I thought I may retire from there, never thinking I'll be looking for another career.
Yes.
It didn't happen that way. You come to find out you're just a number. When it comes to, hey, the budget, reduction in force, merging of corporations,
Yeah.
it happened to me.
Yeah.
One of the best employees with, a high level position and great raises year after year, but all of a sudden they give you that pink slip.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I did is I traveled to San Diego to go to a Super Bowl game. And while I was out there, since I was in engineering, design engineering, worked for Hewlett Packard Compaq Computer, I thought I need to go to California to find the IT jobs, right?
Yeah.
So I went out there, visited my cousin, went to the game, stayed there for a couple of months. I mean, you get a severance package, but after a while, that money is just diminishing, right? So I used to run along the beach, and I was away from my parents. Now, mind you, I'm over 30 at that time. And I would see the Navy ships, and I thought, you know what? I'm single with a master's degree, with experience.
Yeah.
I'm going to go serve my country. I'm going to go talk to the Navy. Well, little did I know, about what the requirements were, but I just went in, talked to a recruiter, and said, hey, I'm here. I want to serve my country, and I want to sign up. He asked my age immediately. He said, I'm sorry, but you've passed our age limit. I was like, but I'm ready to serve.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm sorry, we can't help you. Turned me away, me not knowing anything or even wanting to explore more because I didn't know any better. All I
Yeah.
knew was corporate America. That's what I had been in with family business. I said, okay, it's your loss. And then I thought, well, my mom and dad aren't going to be sad because I was ready to sign, even though at home they didn't support.
Okay.
Hispanic families don't support many of us in going into the military. They want you to be close with the family, help with the
Yeah.
family business. So after that, I said, okay, it's your loss. I came back to Houston, and shortly after that, I started real estate. So I've been in real estate for over 20 years.
Oh wow.
But through that, as a top producer, I went to a veterans parade at the city of Houston. And so I introduced myself to some folks, and one of my friends, who was a associate for a home builder, got to meet somebody who was involved with the Association of U.S. Army. Houston didn't have a chapter here. And so he asked, hey, you're a veteran, to my friend, and he said, why don't we start an AUSA chapter here? He says, I know the right person to include to help start it. So I was recruited. When they asked me why, I asked,
Yeah.
why me? I don't have any experience. I don't know anything about the military, especially the Army. I don't have immediate family. They said, because you are a top producer, we need the community to come in and support the Army. You can bring in these folks and educate them. Let them know about the opportunities, the benefits, how they can get involved.
Yes.
As you mentioned earlier, how can an individual get involved? Is it monetarily? What can they do? You partner with the USA. But the most important thing at that time, we did start the chapter. The next thing was for me to go to DC to the AUSA convention.
Right.
Lord, when I walked into that convention, and Colonel Sanchez can tell you about that, I walked in, and this young Hispanic in civilian clothes walking into the convention in DC. and all I see is men and women in uniform. I'm like, what am I doing here? I knew what it was about,
Yeah.
but I never thought I would ever have the opportunity to be able to serve
Yes.
in that capacity and be able to rub elbows with the chief of staff, the secretary of the army, the soldiers, the generals, their families, the volunteers. And my role there was to go and share with them the issues that we hear in the Houston Metroplex area, or how can we help them. We support them from, like I said, the soldier to the family, from advocating to, you know, higher increase in their housing benefits and their financial status. But that to me was a memory that I thought, had I joined the Navy, I wouldn't have probably had this opportunity.
Yes.
I felt that at that point in time, I was serving at a larger capacity
Yeah.
because now I had the
Over.
opportunity to make an impact. And those individuals who have never been talked about the military, mentored about it, or most importantly, I don't want anybody else left behind like I did. Because the Navy recruiter never shared with me, go talk to the Army. Had I gone to the Army, they had a higher age limit, and it was after 9/11, and they were doing a lot of waivers. So that told me immediately, you were not in the right place at that time. This is where you were, and now, um, since 2010, I've been serving. So at this capacity, I was able to meet the lieutenant colonel for the recruiting battalion at the Veterans Day Parade. He asked me to serve on his team, which is the community relations team. Before you know it, I'm rubbing elbows with our local recruiters, with the colonels, and my role is to bring the community together through AUSA, the business owners, individual supporters, to come in and meet their local recruiters, learn about the opportunities, the benefits. And one recently memory that we made was last year, Colonel Sanchez, when we brought in the leaders from TRADOC to visit a high school.
Okay.
The majority, it's a high percentage of Hispanics in there.
Mhm.
And we brought them in to visit, to go talk to the ROTC cadets. And while we were there, at that time it was Command Sergeant Major Hendricks. He came in, brought in some local soldiers that were in other areas serving, but one of them was a two-time gold medalist winner, rifle shooting out of Katy. And so they came and talked to these cadets, told them about their experience, their background, their MOSs. And this very young cadet who had dreams but didn't know how to go about it, he said, he was a junior, and he said, sir, my dream is to go to West Point, but it's a long shot, I know.
Oh.
The thing is, he did not know who he was talking to in reality, about who he was working for, what their roles were.
Yes.
So Hendricks said, would you like a letter of recommendation? My boss, General Funk, was in ROTC, as a general in TRADOC, went to West Point.
Oh my goodness.
So if you want one, we can get you one, and then you can work on the rest. We're so happy to see that that young man already served his 1 year at West Point. And now we have a young lady who just graduated who's following in the same footsteps. So that to me are great memories that we have made together
Yes.
and helping change their lives.
Yes.
Because in reality, he thought he was going to go local. But we hear the stories. He comes back and visits the schools. So that to me brings a lot of pride, a lot of joy, and know that we're helping make a difference. I get educated by them, by Colonel Sanchez, her recruiters, time after time. To me, it's like, I do it as a volunteer. All this is volunteer. That's how I give back to the Army. Citizens, anybody can come and serve and join us, because freedom does not come for free. And I think it takes everyone to support, to have the freedom of our nation by backing our military.
Yes.
Thank you.
I love that, because it is so important. I was sharing with you earlier how sometimes I could just cry or just start strangling people. Don't quote me. But when I see people who we take our freedom for, we don't see the importance of it. We don't see that people are giving their lives. Literally, you're putting your lives on the line for us, and we don't see the importance of, voting, or we don't see the importance of going and doing those things like volunteering. Like, seriously, I didn't even know that as a citizen, a civilian, that I could do things like that. But you've convicted me, and it's really touched my heart today. I think this is a show that really has touched my heart because I really want to be a part of what you're doing because I see that so much can come out of it, so much good, that people's lives can be changed. When you were talking about the young man, he didn't know who he was talking to, and I think that's what happens a lot of time. Our young people, they don't know who they are, but joining the Army, it sounds like you can tell them who they are, let them know and grow into who they're supposed to be. And just looking at, you, all three of you here, it just shows that, when you do invest in just one person, you can change many more lives because that one person, you are one person and you've changed lives. You're one person, you've changed lives. You're one person and the lives that you change, lives that you probably don't even know. And today, I know that there are some lives that are going to be changed. Hey, grandmothers, grandfathers, aunts, uncles, I know that you're listening in. This is information that you can use. This is information that we can use to save our children. They need alternatives to the chaos that's out here. And this is something that's important. This is something that they can serve their country, that they can do good because it's the right thing to do. The number to call is 713-570-9040. 713-570-9040. So I have just another question here. What was something that surprised you about the Army? Because I've been surprised. I'm sitting here, I'm like, I'm taking it all in.
I think it was the healthcare. You don't realize how much healthcare costs until you're on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Even like now, talking to individuals that come in, they're like, wait, healthcare is free? Like, yes. Dental is free? Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I pay $400 or $500 a month in healthcare.
That's cheap.
And that's what I'm saying, right? I'm like, that's Texas, some parts of Texas where you're paying $500 or $400.
Yeah.
Some places are over $1,000, and imagine if you have family. So the one thing that surprised me was definitely the medical benefits about the Army.
What surprised me about the Army was it wasn't so much the Army that surprised me. It was what the Army made me do that surprised myself. Okay.
Wow.
What I mean by that is that the Army is challenging. It's not for everybody. We are looking for quality people to join our ranks.
Yes.
And ma'am, I thought you were not a day over 37, and I was going to try to recruit you. So we are looking for we can enlist you from 17 and up to 42. We got to get you into basic training by age 42. That is waiverable. But the Army, there's Department of the Army civilians as well. We're actually having a total Army career fair in September. So that was my shameless plug for.
Oh, go ahead, plug.
Yeah, so Department of the Army, right from the Pentagon, will be coming down here in September, and we'll be hosting a total Army career fair where the different pathways into the Army, whether it's in uniform or in civilian clothes,
Okay.
Whether it's through West Point or ROTC, there will be at this career fair. It's still in planning mode right now, so we're thinking somewhere close to downtown, but it'll be in September. We don't have a hard date, but as soon as we have an official flyer, we'll get that out. But many opportunities with the civilian hiring agency. They're going to have all the things there to do jobs right on the spot. But inside the Army, it is challenging, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever you do, whether uniform or civilian.
Yeah.
And the things that you will be asked to do will pull you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
There are many things that I have done that I would look at that I'm like, I can't do that. But then to look back and be like, holy cow, I did that. That's been a huge personal growth,
Yeah.
and that has probably been the surprise. You know what surprised
Yeah.
me about it, and I'll tell you, my one of my favorite things to do is to go to my recruiting stations and get a picture of the future soldiers. So what we call future soldiers
Yeah.
the people who have already enlisted but have
Yes.
not yet gone to basic training.
Okay.
So I like to get pictures of my future soldiers.
Okay.
And then sometimes they come back and they come back and they thank their recruiter. They come back to work with us. It's called hometown recruiting for a couple weeks when they're paid.
Yeah.
So they kind of have like a little vacation,
Vacation.
but they're coming home, right?
Yeah.
And then we get pictures of them. I like to go to the different high schools and be like, check this guy out. So this was a picture of him when he was a future soldier. This is a picture of him now. And some of the comments that I get, and these are from kids, are like, oh my gosh, he looks so much stronger. He looks so much skinnier.
Wow.
He looks so much more confident, And that's just from a picture, right?
Yeah.
So some I'll tell you like some anecdotes from moms and dads, influencers, educators, who, Jane or Johnny comes back, and they're like, I didn't even recognize him.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Because that's a change, and that is just after 2 months, after 4 months.
2 months.
Yes, ma'am. That's a basic training. And so basic training is where they essentially teach you how to soldier.
Okay.
So that's just after 2 months. Imagine after a career, or even just an initial enlistment term.
Wow. And I can picture that, because when you all talk about yourself from the beginning, I'm like, yeah, right, okay, I'll believe that. Yeah, with looking at you now, I would never believe that you were undisciplined. Like, yeah, I was really undisciplined. So it's good to hear the stories, to hear how much it's impacted your lives and how it can impact those other lives. So do you all go into businesses, or does all the recruiting, they come to you, or do you go out and do recruiting?
So we go out. Our aim is basically like what we try to do is we try to get into all the businesses that will allow us.
Okay.
So what we do, we do like what we call area canvassing. So
Okay.
we take like our business cards, or we take flyers. We just try to go out and educate the community, because a lot of the times people see Army and they're afraid. They're like, oh, I don't want to kick down doors. I don't want to shoot people. But that's not all that the Army is about.
Yeah.
I'm logistics in the Army. I do not kick down doors. I sit behind my desk and I order everything that a soldier needs.
Okay.
So whether it's uniforms or paper and pens, anything that they need, that's what I do. So it's more to the Army than just what you see on TV. Of course, it's the media. So the media is going to portray what they want the Army to look like. But it's just having that conversation. So we go into businesses with hopes that, they're going to be receptive to the information that we're giving them. Okay. So that's our goal. So yeah, we go out, and then we do have those that want to join, so they come see us. But majority of the time, like, we're out, we're trying to do face-to-face, let our presence be known. Because a lot of the times, people do feel safe knowing that they have, Army people in the area. So it's like, hey, okay, like, but I also ask them, I pose them this question, if I'm in civilian clothes and they come and they have a conversation with me, but then I pose the question, like, I don't, hey, do you want to join the Army? No, I have a conversation with them, and if it leads to that, me asking them, hey, did you know I was in the Army? Or, how do you think the Army could benefit you? And then that's how I kind of, build the rapport with them. So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I like that. So those of you who are in business, I really, really think that you all have to come back, because I know that there are much more that I have not heard, and my interest is piqued. I want to be able to, I know that there are more of you. Maybe we can have the next group to come in and talk. I really want to do this again. Really, I want to do this again. So I hope that, I hope people help me to make that happen.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah, because I think people need to know, what's going on. Hey, talk about I sent you sent me an invitation.
Absolutely.
I didn't have my glasses on when I opened it up, so I was like, invitation, I can read that. Okay, I'm going. Whatever it is. So.
So let me tell you what it is. The Army's birthday is tomorrow, June the
Woo!
14th, on Flag Day as well. It's our 249th birthday. And we are so excited and very proud. Yesterday also was Women Veterans Day. But we've been celebrating this whole week with cake cutting ceremonies all throughout. We cover the Southeast Texas area tomorrow. There's going to be recruiting stations. They're going to have events all throughout. Be looking out. I mean, go out and, search the recruiting stations in your community.
Okay.
Because AUSA, what we do is, they're one of our partners.
Okay.
And our primary goal is to continue advocating for them, bringing the community together, bringing the businesses, individuals, those who are interested, but most importantly, go out. There's recruiting stations in your areas. You may have a neighbor who's a soldier, a recruiter, and you just don't know it. You see them in uniform, you may be thinking, hey, they're traveling, they're just passing by. No, they live in your community or they work in your community.
Great.
There's over 300 of them. But tomorrow we're celebrating at the VFW Post 8790. AUSA is presenting a birthday celebration, and we welcome you to come out from 6 to 9 p.m. Again, that's VFW Post 8790. Any of you can contact me. My number is 713-828-1014. And do know that you can come in and volunteer for AUSA. We put events together. We do swearing ceremonies. We just had a huge one in the Woodlands, the Honor Your Hero, presented by AUSA. We swore in about 50 enlistees that were leaving, their high schools just recently graduating, re-enlistments who got sworn in there in front of over 8,000 people in the community. And so we do these around there. But most important, no, as a member of AUSA, we're going to provide you with local events, publications, Army Magazine. I have learned so much about the Army through what the communication is from AUSA. Soldiers have told me, reservists have told me, we did not know that this was available to us, from the resources to the products to the services. Because when you're in a unit with your Army, you're going to learn about what's going on in your unit. But being a member of the Army's organization, we provide you with all types of information. So you get to learn more. We also provide scholarships. So again, let's celebrate tomorrow with the total Army, the 249th birthday.
Oh, that is so awesome. Hey, that number is 7. I'm speechless, and that is Rhonda B. That's hard, but that number to call is 713-570-9040. I am really, really excited to have you here, and I thank you so much, all of you, for taking time out of your busy day. I have to share this. It was so funny. When I first met Lieutenant Colonel here, she came and she said, I saw this camouflage going by, and I said, oh, that must be my guest. And I looked at the clock and I said, it's early. So I come out and I'm, telling her, oh, well, you can come in. She said, well, no. I said, you're early. But she said, no. I said, you can come in. She says, no. She says, I always like to do recon. And when she left, I said, recon? I said, I like that. I said she was using her Army jargon. But just a delight to talk to you all, and just when we were in the office before the show even started, just to talk with you and to hear your heart, and to hear someone's heart, it makes you want to be a part of what they are doing. So I thank you, and this wasn't that bad, was it? No, it wasn't that bad. You were so informative. I said, look at her. She's not nervous at all. She was just telling me a fib. But you gave so much information and so helpful. And you all are just so, I just know, you went in when you was in elementary school, really. Really? You were in elementary school when you went in. Because you were so young. I was like, oh my goodness, how old is she? Is she 12? But
I've got to share one last thing with you. It's really interesting. So I just got to meet her today for the first time. And as we sat here and I heard her voice, a little bit over a year ago, I made a phone call to a recruiting station. I was at a football game. And I walked up to the stadium seats, and I seen my nephew playing football out there, and he's a junior. And I hadn't had the chance to talk to him about, what are his goals,
Yeah.
After graduation. But I knew he wanted to be a professional NFL player. And, to me, I've always looked at you can do anything you want. Everything is a possibility, but you got to have plan A, plan B.
Yeah.
So, being that I work with recruiting, I talked to his mom before I talked to him, and I said, Anna, that's my niece. I said, what college has your son applied for? ACT, SAT scores, etc. She's like, Aunt, I'm here to watch the football game. And I'm like, but this is the last football game. I want to know so that I can see where I can help. But anyhow, I said, he's a great athlete. He's smart.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of potential, but I haven't heard his plan. I said, what do you think about me putting him in contact with a recruiter? And she said, oh, I don't know about that. Everybody knows what you do with the Army, and I don't think my husband will want you to, talk to him to take him away from our family, from the local area. I said, it's giving them opportunities, maybe something he hasn't heard. And the reason I asked that was because I had just gotten a video shared with me 2 weeks before from Klein Oak High School. And it was this athlete who was doing push-ups. And apparently he did so many push-ups in 1 minute that they were like, oh my gosh, he's a pretty good athlete. We need to talk to him. The more and more I look at the video, and I reran it several times, I said, wait a minute, that looks like my nephew. Small world, right? And I said, okay, so that happens. I confirmed it is him because I called the commander for that station. And then I said, I'm going to his football game. I said, we got to talk. So she gave me the permission before I talked to my great nephew to make the phone call. And just now I have identified who that individual, who that lady was, the recruiter,
goodness.
that it was her who talked to me on the phone. And then she followed up with my nephew. So he just graduated. He didn't continue with football because he got hurt. But he went into wrestling, one of the top athletes in Klein Oak.
Wow.
And so now, since he just graduated, came back from vacation, I think we need to pay him a visit. So, Tati, I'll give you his mother's information so you can follow up. So it's just a small world. You never know. And again, those opportunities, are there. And I wear my pins here. I'm very proud to wear the pins that I get.
Yes.
I was pinned as a honorary recruiter because I've helped bring in a lot of young men and women into the military, which is something that I never thought I could do, but it's just by talking, right?
Yeah.
And that makes me feel good. So it's the passion. So again, thank you so much, Sergeant First Class Price, for doing what you do, because you make a big difference. You may not see it right away as a, immediate gratification, but the delayed gratification, I wish, I'm going into my 60-year birthday here, but I wish, had I joined the military, I could have retired, or twice already, been on my third career. But again, think about the opportunities, the benefits that the Army has to give you.
Yes, and there are a lot. Yes.
Laura, so she just mentioned like ACT, SAT stuff, right? I wanted to share with your listeners a resource.
Okay.
So this is a resource that, yes, the Army sponsors it, but it is free to use for everybody. I swear you will not be signing up or enlisting in the Army by using it.
Yes.
But www.march and then the number 2 success.com. All right, www.march and the number 2 success.com. This website is full of different resources that helps people do many of the standardized testing. So it's got like practice tests in there. We use it for our applicants who need to maybe just to get a little bit more of a bump on their ASVAB test. But it's got different stuff in there for SAT, ACT, and on all of that stuff. And on the ASVAB, I would encourage folks to take the ASVAB. Even if you don't, a lot of the schools offer ASVAB now.
Yes.
Even if you don't have any interest in joining the military, the ASVAB is an aptitude test. So it gives you an opportunity to look at what your strengths are.
Yes.
To maybe like go towards that particular career field. So I just wanted to share that because it is very useful.
Wow, it is. I did not know that, but that is very, very, very useful. Hey guys, our time is up. I could have talked for another hour, but I just want to thank all of my listeners out there and to tell you that you know what I always say here on Citywise. We have hidden jewels within our city, and that's what this platform is for, to reveal those hidden jewels that are here. So I'm going to end it by saying thank you all for tuning in. And my tagline is, if you didn't know, now you know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I love you, and see you next week, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you.